Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald. But today, we're steering into a crisis that's shaking the agricultural core of America. One with ripple effects that could hit trucking, logistics, diesel demand, and even the very machinery that keeps rural economies moving. When international policy collides with small-town resilience, we dig into every gear and gasket of the story. Let's break it down. Shockwave from the Heartland. Tariffs slam U.S. agriculture. April 2025 will go down as a breaking point for American agriculture. That month, the Trump administration imposed a staggering 145% tariff on Chinese imports, prompting a swift and punishing 125% retaliation from Beijing. A blow aimed squarely at core U.S. agricultural exports like soybeans, pork, and sorghum. But these exports aren't just numbers on a trade sheet. They're the backbone of thousands of family-run farms across the American heartland. In 2024 alone, China purchased roughly $27 billion worth of U.S. agricultural goods. Fast forward 1 year, and that vital trade lifeline was cut. Orders were abruptly canceled. Contracts disintegrated. Storage silos filled up with nowhere to send shipments. Soybean exports plunged by 50% in just 1 week. Pork exports dropped even more. 72% gone. Farmers were left staring at piles of unsold goods and a future riddled with uncertainty. The damage went beyond economics. Years of built trust vanished almost overnight. The tariffs didn't just shatter trade, they tarnished America's reliability. And the hardest hit? The everyday farmer caught in the political crossfire. But China wasn't finished. What came next would reshape the global trade map. China's downshift, new trade routes, and strategic redirection. Beijing didn't just retaliate, they rerouted with precision. By the first quarter of 2025, China had firmly shifted gears, fast-tracking agricultural deals with Brazil and other Latin American producers. Soybean imports from Brazil soared, with projections for April through June reaching a record-breaking 31.3 million tons, a volume that firmly signals where China's priorities now lie. This wasn't an emergency response, it was a calculated pivot. China has long been crafting a food security strategy centered on supplier diversification. The US-China tariff clash simply forced an earlier launch. Through targeted infrastructure investments, long-term trade agreements, and strategic diplomacy, Beijing is reducing its reliance on any single supplier, and the US suddenly finds itself sidelined. For American farmers, this shift represents more than just a short-term setback. It's a full-on trade route reconstruction. Even if tariffs vanish, trust takes time. And in that gap, rivals gain ground. This isn't limited to soybeans and pork either. It's a wake-up call. Global trade is more fragmented, more cutthroat, and more political than ever before. Before we delve deeper, take a moment to subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels this channel and helps us keep bringing you stories that drive right into the heart of policy, industry, and power. With China pivoting and competitors gaining ground, let's look at how that pain is playing out on America's backroads. Rural repercussions, from harvest to hardship. The fallout from the tariff war isn't confined to headlines. It's pounding the pavement in rural America. Across farm towns, backroads, and grain elevators, the economic skid marks are visible and deep. In Iowa, the soybean stronghold, farmers are staring down projected losses of $25 per acre. That kind of hit can determine whether a family farm limps through the season or folds entirely. Some producers are already scaling back their planting, others are parking tractors, laying off workers, or making the gut-wrenching call to shut down. And it doesn't stop at the farm gate. Equipment dealerships, seed suppliers, fertilizer distributors, and local co-ops are all feeling the slowdown. Agriculture isn't just an industry out here, it's the economic lifeblood of entire communities. But the damage goes beyond dollars. Stress, anxiety, and mental health struggles are spiking among farmers facing a bleak and uncertain road ahead. Bailouts from Washington may help temporarily, but for many, that's not enough. What they want is not pity, it's predictability, stable trade, open markets, and the chance to thrive on their own terms. That growing frustration soon found its way into the halls of Washington. Policy fallout, Washington's response, and political ripples. As American farmers plunged into crisis, Washington's political gears began to churn, fast. The Trump administration quickly announced a new round of financial relief aimed at cushioning the immediate blow. But across rural America, many farmers weren't convinced. To them, it felt like slapping a Band-Aid on a blown-out tire, a gesture, not a fix. Critics from both sides of the aisle called out the deeper structural problems. Bailouts can't rebuild the trust of lost buyers overseas, nor can they re-establish long-standing trade channels that were severed in days. In response, a bipartisan coalition in Congress began crafting legislation to curb executive overreach in trade matters. The aim was to require congressional approval before any future administration could impose sweeping tariffs without thorough debate. This political reckoning reached deep into the heartland. In strongholds like Iowa, Missouri, and Nebraska, frustration began to simmer. Many lifelong Republican voters started questioning whether Washington still had their backs. Out of that frustration came a louder call: shift from trade wars to trade strategy. Reliability, not retaliation, may be the key to rebuilding America's agricultural strength. Out of that disillusionment came a shift, not just politically, but strategically, as farmers began looking beyond recovery toward resilience, rebuilding the engine toward a stronger agricultural future. As the tariff war dust begins to settle, American farmers aren't sitting still. They're adapting. The new strategy? Diversify or risk collapse. With China no longer a guaranteed buyer, farmers, cooperatives, and trade officials are aggressively pursuing alternative markets in Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America. It's a proactive move to reduce dependency and minimize geopolitical risk. Simultaneously, there's a growing shift toward value-added agriculture. Instead of relying solely on raw commodity exports, many are turning to processed goods like soybean oil, ethanol, and even plant-based proteins. These products offer higher margins and more stable market demand. Innovation is also taking root across the industry. Technologies like precision farming and sustainable irrigation systems are helping farmers boost efficiency and resilience. Federal support is gradually increasing through research grants, rural infrastructure funding, and export programs. On the policy front, a consensus is forming. Tariffs alone aren't enough. Long-term recovery depends on smarter, globally minded trade policies. With renewed focus and the right tools, many believe America's agricultural engine can rebuild, stronger and more sustainable than ever. And with that drive for innovation and independence revving up, it's time to reflect on what this turning point really means. Final thoughts. At the crossroads of trade and tenacity. This chapter in U.S. agricultural history has been a bruising, high-speed ride, a moment where geopolitical aftershocks collided directly with rural resilience. Tariffs transformed trusted trading partners into competitors. Export pipelines dried up. And through it all, America's farmers, the ones keeping the wheels of the heartland turning, had little say in the route chosen for them. Yet, even in a crisis, there's clarity. Today, resilience means more than survival. It means diversifying markets, investing in innovation, and advocating for smarter, stable trade policies that don't leave farmers as collateral in global power plays. The future of American agriculture lies in stronger collaboration between those tilling the soil and those drafting the policies on Capitol Hill. Now we want to hear from you. Will U.S. farmers ever win back China as a major buyer? Or has the landscape permanently shifted? Should Congress take the wheel on major trade policy decisions? What's the smartest path forward for rebuilding rural economic strength? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Highway Herald for more updates on the crossroads of policy, industry, and horsepower. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.